welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we're on a special guest, Justin Johnson, fantastic guitar player. How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. I've been watching you play for quite a bit now, and you have a new album out. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about your because you are teaching too. What levels of people coming in? Say some people might be, I'm not very good. I'm just a
Right.
starting player.
Uh-huh.
I'm really good. I don't need anybody to teach me. Like, what is your philosophy for handling different people? Like, are they getting printouts or books? Is it one on one? Like,
I
what are people getting into?
I first of all, I'm really passionate about like all levels because I know that what I do when I perform, especially when I'm performing like a solo guitar arrangement where no one else is playing, it's me playing like a full band on the guitar.
Hmm.
That's really complicated. That's really difficult music to play. But there's a certain type of student, there's a certain type of guitarist out there that's what they want to learn. They want to learn about percussive techniques, so they want to learn about multitasking on the guitar and playing a melody and a bass line at the same time, creating that whole band sound. There's a lot of content for that. One of the things that I spent the most time on though before launching, justinjohnsonguitar.com, before launching this platform, is
The
I
links
wanted to
below
have
everybody on the show.
a thorough beginner course. And basically, my goal was I'm not going to launch this site until someone who's never picked up a guitar before can come to it. And if this is all they had, if this website's all they had, they could learn guitar. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about the best approach to learning guitar and thinking about if I could go back and relearn guitar from scratch, what would I do the same and what would I do differently in order to learn quickly? And one of the big approaches that I take is basically after learning, the absolute essentials is finger picking. I think every guitar player should learn how to pick with their fingers, even before learning how to strum or use a pick. I think it's the most connection you have with the guitar. And you actually start to sound better and more impressive, I think, quicker if you learn how to finger pick first.
That's fantastic. So with the class and the levels, like, so if is it like a couple months long? Is there are you adding to it as you go? Like, obviously
Oh,
it's commitment. Like having people like
it
they
is a
pay you and it's
full
ongoing.
like it's a full library of basically every bit of instruction I've ever put out. So it is it's just every subject from slide guitar, finger picking, of course that in-depth beginner section,
Mhm.
um, taking it to more advanced. It's got tabs for basically all of the original tablature that I've put out is available
Mhm.
there with videos, so you can watch the tablature synced up to the performance, learn my songs that way
Wow,
with
nice.
the printable tabs. There's a section basically that are just like riff lessons too, where it's like just riffs to build up your riff library, things that you can apply to lots of different genres. I just completed a course and posted it on the resonator guitar, that thoroughly kind of broke down, demystifying the resonator guitar to begin with, because a lot of people love the resonator guitar, but they look at them and they think, like, I don't know, I don't know how to approach it, or I don't know,
I think I
like,
would make it sound like a
feel
trash can. Like I
intimidated.
think, yeah, when I look at it, you know what I mean? It's
It's
because of
it
how it is.
You think that it's something more complicated than it is, a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of people. So the course really breaks that down, but then it breaks down into a series of song lessons. And what I do a lot of times is instead of just teaching an exercise, I'll teach a song that teaches you the technique. So you're always learning
Okay.
music. You're always learning something that you can play,
Apply to it.
and that's what teaches you the music. That's what teaches you the technique. I've been talking about a lot of what we're talking about
Hmm.
in the lessons that I've been doing, because I've been specifically doing this deep dive into blues lead guitar. I think it was the B.B. King quote when he was talking about the difference between like jazz and blues, and saying it's like cooking, where jazz musicians have more ingredients, but blues musicians have less ingredients, but you got to be a better cook, you know? And it's like you have to tell a story with less notes. You have to be able to
Right.
take like these five notes that generally are like the pentatonic scale or something if you get into the theory. But you can break so many solos down to these five notes But a blues musician won't just play the five notes. They bend them and they bend them out of tune and they add dissonance to them and they add vibrato to them. They add all these inflections. And
Hmm.
it's just like, you listen to Albert King, who, Stevie Ray Vaughan learned so much from Albert King. That was like the rule book for Stevie Ray Vaughan. But Albert King played almost, almost less, almost like three notes or four notes, like 90% of the time when he played.
Yeah.
But he just bent them and he just told so much of a story with those notes.
Bending was just one of the hardest things with me outside of bar chords. But and doing it right, that's my um but doing it right is important. And I think what's great, and people need to, if you're like a rock heavy metal guitarist, this is for you. I'm not like doing a shop at home sales thing. You're like you know what I mean? But it's like the blues is in a lot of great metal and thrash and rock and everything else. A lot of those great solos go right down to the soul and note bending.
Yeah.
And this isn't just if you're into just what you hear. I mean, I think this course with the music you're teaching, I hear it, I can hear so many other things when I hear your YouTube videos, like other places it would go. Like I'm like, God, I think I play it good. I would do other things with it. I would incorporate other for me, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, it's fantastic. Like I can hear. So I think as a musician, if you're a guitar player or any kind of string instrument, I think taking a dive into your stuff would be fantastic, just because it's going to open up so many other doors. It's going to lead you into other things, not
Well,
just
that's the thing.
one.
Like I fell in love even just talking about like heavier music, like of course Black Sabbath is like one of my favorites. Of course, that's almost all blues. It's just
Yeah,
blues cranked up
a little
and
distortion there.
totally, blues from a different perspective.
And that's what I want to say to probably to younger musicians that are just like in whatever type of music. And even if you're not in metal, if you're doing something totally different that doesn't sound right, learn it anyhow, because maybe you could be taking that into some new direction that no one's even thought of yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because as a musician, you want to learn as much as you can about everything, you know, and then take it in and put it out. And I do want to say one thing that I like to say, and I'll say to anybody, you have a fan. If you're a fan of something, this is how I've always lived. Just say Stevie Ray Vaughan, and say someone's I'm a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. You need to find out who they were into, and then you need to find out who they were into, and you goes three trees, 3 trees back of who they like. I started doing like Johnny, and I ending up at Robert Johnson. You know what I'm saying? I went as far as you could go to the end of the world, because
And
I just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah, almost like the entire Alligator Records label at one point. You know what I'm saying?
it's so true. Like that is one of the things that I talk about so much is if you want to sound like, if you want to sound like this band, almost more than practicing that band, practice who they listen to
Yeah,
because that's where they got all the riffs, that's where they got all their inspiration, that's where they got their energy. It's probably where they got their what they're wearing, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's a and that's where the real riffs come from. I think in a sense of like, if you wanna play like, you know, the Rolling Stones, you listen to those bands. You listen to Mississippi Fred McDowell. You listen to that old Delta blues. You listen
yeah.
to Little Richard. You listen to rockabilly and those kinds of influences. You listen to early country music.
And you can't actually, when we're talking about, you can't get away. You can't not listen to Johnny Cash. You can't listen to all the Highwaymen. You can't just listen
Hmm.
to, you have to listen to all the outlaw country guys.
Yep.
All those guitar
Yeah.
styles are. There's a point when they all came out and they all sounded different. I can say there's a
Hmm.
point like with thrash music in the '80s where every thrash band had a different singer and a sound and a tone that was all different because they had like one pedal. But you can take that back to country music, and those guys, they all had a certain sound, very simple setups, but they all create their own voices that might not be American Idol voices, but they were good. They
Yeah.
probably couldn't sing a normal song like in the proper key or whatever, but man, they could sing it in a way you can't do Willie Nelson than anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you first came out,
Exactly.
everyone's like, oh, I'm like, no, Willie Nelson's he's like a bomb. But there's something very special that
Hmm.
as a young musician, you need to freak this up. You need to get drunk on all this stuff. I mean, this is heavy, and this is just because a guitar player. You should know this stuff, not any type of guitar player.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it all click. I think it's harder to learn guitar and be a versatile guitar player by just learning, like the even just the bands you've heard of or things like that without going
Mhm.
back because it just makes it connect and it makes you realize like everyone's playing these few things in different ways, these few sort of primordial musical concepts.
And you just have a new album you just put out too. Uh, that people can also check out.
So, the newest album is called The Biscuit House, and it's so nice when you have a vision for an album and you put the work into it and it just comes out even better than it was in your mind, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I love about um, picking musicians to sort of bring an album to life and letting them do what they do best and everyone's working together, everyone's like smiling at the end of a recording and having a good time. And one of the things that I really put a lot of effort into with this album, first of all, is that I wanted to pay homage to a lot of my favorite genres, a lot of my favorite, like, rock and roll genres. There's a lot of like Zeppelin influence. There's a lot of Pink Floyd and Doors influence. And then there's a
Mhm.
lot of those early blues, like early electric blues styles that I love, like John Lee Hooker especially. Like right when you start playing the first song on the album, you're going to hear the John Lee Hooker like influence right off the bat. And like with the slide guitar, there are some slide guitar songs, and I think I play slide on pretty much every song. But some of it is like Hendrix mixed with slide, or some of it is
Yeah.
like taking two styles the Doors kind of psychedelic trancey vibe and blending that with like this Santana percussive vibe and kind of taking it to a new place and then mixing Delta blues with that. And again, it's these combinations of my favorite ingredients that I really love about this kind of album and that really makes me proud of it. I drew a lot from especially like Zeppelin and that kind of like that sort of 70s rock sound. That was a big
Mhm.
component to the Biscuit House album and that's why I recorded it too. It was a Studio D at Blackbird Studio where they have this beautiful analog recording studio and just cranking Marshall stacks. Everyone was going out of Marshalls, like the Will Lee on bass, he was going out of a Marshall stack. Everyone except for the drummer was going out of these big like 70s vintage stacks. And what I love too is the all the keyboards. Which is like the Rhodes, the Fender Rhodes, the B3 organ, um, all going through amps, which is like when you hear bands like Deep Purple or you hear bands like
Mhm.
Steppenwolf, I always thought a lot of those tones were guitar, but they were actually organs. They were the B3 or the
John
Rhodes going
Lord was
through.
the ultimate rhythm guitarist, right?
Exactly. And I never appreciated that so much as when I started really kind of getting into the production on this album. And Mike Webb, who played keys on this album, he's an incredible musician, really, a famous studio musician here in Nashville. And
Hmm.
he kind of was like, let's, we talked a lot about the tones we wanted, and it's like I did not know that was organ when I heard that song or something, or especially the Fender
Yeah.
Rhodes is like going through the cranked stack sound is so nasty and so gnarly, and it's just rock and roll. It's so good. And you can
I
watch
want,
the videos that I have on YouTube from that album are the actual recording sessions.
oh,
So,
that is actually it. Okay, 'cause I've seen some. That's what I was
mhm.
imagining in my mind. Okay, perfect. I want to give you props because in the YouTube content world, you've come out of the gate with great production, great sound. I'm talking a couple years back when you for your channel, you can dig back. There's no weak spots. The continuity is fantastic. Of the quality of your production. I mean, it follows that you're recording, of course, you're playing, but the way you've done things, the shot. I mean, you've thought about everything from the very beginning. So I want to give you credit because if people don't know, it's so hard. Content can eat you alive, and as a creative artist, you feel like you have no energy left to create. So the fact that you're still creating and doing good content at the same time obviously applies to you and your wife as a team, which is fantastic. But there's a lot of work that goes
Absolutely.
behind what you do before you can sit and just not you just playing guitar on the porch or something that people like. It's not just that. There's so much to it that you do, and you do it good, so it doesn't look like a lot to other people. I know you do a
Right.
lot, and I want to say bravo because it's fantastic, and let people know how hard it is to do what you do.
It is, and you know, I always loved film. And I think if I didn't play music, I think I would probably want to do something in the film world.
Hmm.
And so I think luckily that kind of plays into
Yeah.
the appreciation for what goes into lighting and cameras and audio engineering and all of that because it is a lot to juggle and it's a lot to understand. But just like anything, if you have a passion for it, it makes the stamina part of it a whole lot
Hmm.
easier to get down with.
I want to thank you, man. This has been fantastic. For giving me all this time tonight.
Yeah, man, thank you. This has been
This
a
is so
that's
great.
even if we weren't you know, recording this, it was a lot of
I know,
fun
right?
talking to you, brother. It's nice.
It's fun. I mean, and it's funny. I thought I'd do more guitar stuff with you, but just so much other background that we just go off on. Maybe we'll pick another time. We'll do another show and we'll catch up on more stuff. Time going, and we'll play from there. But people check them
Sounds
out.
great, man.
Links are underneath. Click on them, support them. Check out the music. Obviously, all the YouTube's the crazy stuff. He does the instruments, the Jackie Chan of guitar. We'll have to coin that.
Yeah.
Everything though. But Dad, get samples of his playing there. Or go to his sing, his learning. Um, I can't say enough. But thanks, man. It's been the best. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.